What makes a racing circuit fit for Formula 1? The answer might not be as simple as what you're expecting. There's 24 races on the 2025 Formula 1 calendar, and they all share some certain characteristics, despite being very varied in terms of their speed and overall layout. There's not many similarities between Monza in Italy and the Monte Carlo streets in Monaco, but they do share certain characteristics, which I'm going to get into during this video. So here we go, guys. Here's everything you need to know about Formula 1 circuits in F1. A Formula 1 circuit is a section of road or a purpose-built track that is approved by the FIA as a racetrack fit for F1 racing. This is done by giving it a Grade 1 license. To be on the F1 calendar, you have to achieve a Grade 1 status, and achieving that does vary, but there are some certain rules that you have to adhere to when it comes to this. In fact, a lot of former Formula 1 circuits, such as Kyalami, that are trying to get back onto the calendar, are not Grade 1. Despite hosting over, 20 Grand Prix back in the day in South Africa, Kyalami is not a Grade 1 circuit, so it needs to make changes in order to get back onto the F1 calendar, which I really hope it does. But in simple terms, in the most literal terms, what are these circuits? Well, a circuit usually starts with a straight stretch and has several turns and corners throughout its run. The pitch straight usually leads into turn 1 or skips out turn 1 and is usually around or before the last corner of the track. Most circuits run in a clockwise direction, but increasingly new circuits on the Formula 1 calendar move in an anti-clockwise direction. If you're wondering what the difference is there, clockwise circuits have more right-hand corners than left, and anti-clockwise circuits have more left-hand corners than right. So if you imagine them starting, they would go to the right more often than to the left in a clockwise track, and the opposite is true for anti-clockwise tracks, or counterclockwise if you will, here in the UK as we call it. Those few that are anti-clockwise though give the drivers the most trouble because of the G-forces on their necks in a direction that they are used to. The more anti-clockwise tracks you get on the calendar though, that does seem to decrease, but it's still more challenging to do that. One of the older tracks that is anti-clockwise on the F1 calendar is Interlagos in Brazil. The average time taken for a race is around 2 hours, and the average distance of a circuit overall after all laps have been completed is 305 kilometers, which is about 119 miles. Now the distance does vary depending on the track when it comes to this, because that is the minimum amount of distance that a Grand Prix has to achieve, with one exception, and we will get into that of course, and that is of course Monaco. That has a distance of 260 kilometers or 161 miles because Monaco just is different. The average speed there is far too low to be able to do 305 kilometers an hour, because it would mean that the race would take around 2.5 or 3 hours rather than a mandated maximum of 2 hours. One run around a circuit is counted as one lap, and races usually are specified as the number of laps around a particular circuit. The minimum amount of laps required on the Formula 1 calendar currently is for Spa-Francorchamps. Because of its very long circuit layout, you only have to do 44 laps around there for it to be a complete race. Whereas the maximum amount is for Monaco, which is set at 79, but that of course, like we already established, does not encompass 305 kilometers. I believe the next most after that is Austria or Brazil at 71, and that does go to the 305 kilometers distance. The average circuit length in Formula 1 these days is around 5 kilometers or 3.1 miles. But yeah, there we go. That's kind of the rundown of what these tracks are. If you're wondering what the complete list of Formula 1 tracks are, you can actually go over to the F1Chronicles.com's beginner's guide, which is of course a video for part of that article on, and you can see every single track on the calendar that's ever been on the calendar and which races it has hosted in the past and of course in the present for those that are still on the calendar. There's a big list on there, so do go check that out if you're interested in it. Of course, the 24 tracks for the 2025 calendar on there as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Hope you learned something in this F1 Explainer video. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always, and we'll see you very soon for some more content on the F1Chronicle.com just like this. Have a good one, guys.